Hello and welcome back to NHB Retro. I figure it's high time that I featured some Atari content on this channel. So I've broken out one of my 800XLs and we're going to put together this project here, which currently is just loosely in the case. This is the A8PicoCart. It's a really simple project. This one should be already flashed and maybe even has some ROMs on it. So let's go ahead and get the thing over to the bench. We'll put it together and then we'll come back here and try it out in the 800. Okay, and here's the project all laid out on the table here. It's really extremely simple. Once again, people are harnessing the power of these really powerful small processors. In this case, I believe this is an A8Pico clone. The board says something about it being a non-standard Pico. But anyway, in this case, I bought this as a kit from eBay. This came pre-programmed. All we need to do is solder in the pin headers, solder the Pico in, and pop it in the case. Came with screws, came with 3D printed case. Yeah, pretty nice. So let's go ahead and just get it soldered together. Okay, so as usual, with any of these projects where there's a Pico that's attached with our little pin headers, first chore is to get the pin headers themselves soldered down to the card. Now, I believe the only way that it can actually go is like this. I want to make sure I get this. The case does have a little cutout here, as you can see, for the access to the USB. So this has to be the top case, this has to be the bottom case, and we have to make sure things fit, especially with these pins. They're longer on one side than they are on the other. You usually want those going up, but just in case, I'm going to test fit everything. And that works fine, so we don't even need to shorten these pins at all. Okay, so the only real trick then is to get the pins straight. And what I'm going to do, I believe, I'm just going to leave the Pico attached here, just loosely by hand. And I'm just going to solder a couple of these pins, make sure everything's straight, and then pull the Pico back off. And I'll bring you in closer for a view of that. Okay, soldering gun is up to temp. Like I said, we're just going to solder one pin on each side, and then we'll check, and then eventually we'll flip it over and take the Pico off and solder the rest of them. Okay, what? Yes. All right, so here we go. Hopefully I'm not blocking your view too badly. Okay, so there we go. We've got two of them. Now I'm going to flip it over and make sure everything looks straight, everything's pushed down well, everything's level. It is, so I'm just going to pop this off, save it some heat. Sometimes you don't want to do this with the actual part sitting there, even though the part will hold it perfectly in shape. If these pins had been used before, and this was, say, a chip that I wasn't going to solder down, I'm going to solder this down, you want to be careful about using the actual part as a guide, because you can inadvertently do things like solder a chip into the middle of a socket, for instance. Again, not a problem here. Those pins look pretty good. Let's just finish them up. Okay, so now let's go ahead and get the Pico itself soldered down to the headers that we just put on. Also note that I kind of glossed over it, but this button also needs to be soldered down. I've removed it just so the board will stand kind of flush. In this configuration of the board, the Pico goes on this side, and that's actually, once in the cartridge, that's the back side. So the switch goes on the front side, and that's where it pops up through the front of the case. So it's good to keep that in mind. I think there are other configurations of this card in different orientations that you can make where they're both sit on the front side, but yeah, it's key to get them on the right side. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and once again do opposite corners and just double check everything's still in place, and then we'll go ahead and do the rest of the pins. Okay, so we've got all the pins successfully soldered down. It's important with this many pins, always double, triple check that you've actually soldered everything. And so with that, I think the last thing for us to do is going to be to solder this button in place for real. Put it in the case and boot it up. So let's go ahead and get this soldered on. Okay, quick and easy. Let's go ahead and get it fit into the case. Again, this is the back of the. We'll get the screws put in and take it over to the Atari. Okay, I've got the Atari set up. I've got joystick plugged in. Let's take our cart. All right, so I'm going to flip you around, point you at my terrible television, and we'll do the first function check of this together. Okay, and here we go. Well, that doesn't look very good. That is not what we expected. Well, shoot. So, actually, I built two of these cartridges. This one is from a different seller. I built this one off camera, thinking the other one would work. Let's go ahead and try this one. It's identical. You can see it's a slightly nicer case, actually. I should have just gone with this one in the first place. The boards are identical. They're just clearly, like this one's black, this one's white, but they're the same version and everything. Let's give this one a shot. Alrighty, we've got the second A8PicoCart in the Atari 800XL, hooked up to everyone's least favorite monitor, and let's go ahead and give this one a boot. Okay, much nicer. So we've booted into the A8PicoCart's main menu. Now, ironically, this version of the cartridge, both of these I purchased from eBay sellers, different sellers, obviously. The first one, the gray one, came preloaded with tons of demos and games, though it didn't work, of course. The second one did not come preloaded with any games. In fact, I think if I remember correctly, I had to flash the BIOS on it. Anyway, Um, both of them work fine when I plug them into the computer via USB to copy stuff to them. So I just copied all the games from the first one onto the second one, this one, and let's run some. Now, as you can see, it's got ROMs, it's got ATRs, it's got XEXs. Let's go ahead. I downloaded what was one of my favorite games ever on the Apple II, which was Droll. I've downloaded a disk image of it here. Let's go ahead. Now, some of these, when you launch them, I'm not super familiar with Atari usage, but you have to hold down the Option key, which I believe frees up the upper RAM area for programs that need it. This is one. Let's go ahead. I'm holding down the Option key, and I'm launching Droll. And there we go. Droll. Pretty neat. Now, in order to get out of this, I need to reset the Pico cartridge itself with its reset button on the front, which should cause the machine to do nothing. Anyway, then I hit reset on the machine, and I'm back to the main menu. Pretty neat. Let's go ahead and run. This is kind of interesting. Some sort of in-store demo that was, there we go. Pretty cool stuff. You can do anything with this machine. Okay, so that actually, despite the fact that one of them didn't work, and I will be exploring that one and trying to figure out what went wrong. This is such a simple build, so easy to do. I'm guessing there's actually some fault with the odd pico variation that is used in the first one that I put together. The second one, of course, uses the same pico variation, but I don't know, maybe they got a bad batch for the first one. Second one works great. I'm sure if you were to build this, you'd probably have that experience as well. Again, super easy to build. There's almost nothing to it. You just have to solder the pico in and the reset button, and then put the case together. So that's it. That's all I'm gonna do today. Hopefully you enjoyed seeing the process, and you know, we got there in the end. That's the most important thing. So, all right, I'll see you on the next one.